The billionaire never expected his morning coffee run to change his life. James Whitmore, a man whose name was printed across skyscrapers and stock markets, had grown used to walking past the homeless without a second glance. But today, something stopped him in his tracks. On a worn-out park bench sat a man in shabby clothes, his hair unkempt, shoes nearly falling apart. Beside him, a little girl clutched a tattered notebook. Her father, clearly struggling, was teaching her math with a stick, scratching numbers into the dirt. "Carry the one, sweetheart. You've got this," the man said softly, his eyes full of pride. James froze. He had seen hunger, poverty, desperation, but never such love shining through so much brokenness. The girl beamed when she solved the problem, and her father kissed her forehead as though she had just won the world. Something stirred in James's chest. He couldn't explain it. Why did this stranger, with nothing, radiate more hope than he himself, with billions? When the father noticed James watching, he quickly lowered his head in embarrassment. But the billionaire did something that stunned even himself. He walked over. "You're teaching her without books?" James asked. The man nodded. "She deserves a future, even if I can't give her much." For the first time in years, James felt his heart ache. He didn't know it yet, but this encounter would change all three of their lives forever. James couldn't shake the image of the little girl's glowing smile. Something about the way her father looked at her, protective, proud, determined, cut through the billionaire's polished armor. "What's your name?" James asked gently. The man hesitated. "Ethan. And this is Lily." His voice carried both humility and quiet strength. James sat beside them, ignoring the curious stares of passers-by. "She's bright. Where does she go to school?" Ethan swallowed hard. "She doesn't, not anymore. I lost my job, and then my home. But I promised Lily she'd still learn. Knowledge is the one thing no one can take from her." James was silent, stunned. He thought of his own childhood, boarding schools, private tutors, every privilege money could buy. Yet here was a man with nothing, fighting harder than anyone he had ever known to give his child a chance. "Dad says one day I'll be a teacher," Lily said proudly, hugging her notebook. "So I can help kids like me." James felt his throat tighten. A billionaire, envied by millions, was suddenly being schooled in life by a homeless little girl and her father. Before leaving, James reached into his wallet. But Ethan raised his hand. "I don't want pity. I just want a chance, for her." That night, James couldn't sleep. He replayed the scene in his mind, Ethan's worn-out shoes, Lily's shining eyes, and the way love turned their broken world into something unshakably whole. For the first time in years, James wondered, what if I've been measuring wealth the wrong way all along? The next morning, Ethan and Lily returned to the same park bench, their classroom under the sky. Lily grinned as she scribbled in her notebook while Ethan explained fractions with small pebbles. What they didn't expect was to see James Whitmore walking toward them again, this time not with coffee, but with a small bag in hand. "Good morning," James greeted warmly. He placed the bag in Lily's lap. Inside were brand new pencils, notebooks, and colorful workbooks. Lily's eyes widened as though she had discovered treasure. "Are these, for me?" she asked, her voice trembling. James nodded. "Every great teacher needs the right tools." Ethan stared in disbelief. "Sir, we can't accept this." "Please," James interrupted softly. "Think of it as an investment. Not charity." Ethan hesitated, then whispered, "Thank you." Over the next few days, James found himself returning again and again. He sat with them, sometimes helping Lily sound out words, other times just listening to Ethan's quiet wisdom. One afternoon, James asked, "Ethan, you ever thought of teaching others? You've got a gift." Ethan chuckled. "I was a mechanic. Life had other plans." But James wasn't laughing. He saw something powerful, a man who refused to give up on his daughter, who carried dignity in every word despite his circumstances. Later that week, James made a phone call that would change everything. He reached out to a friend who ran a community learning center. "I think I've found someone special," James said firmly. "Someone who deserves a chance, not for himself, but for the next generation." Ethan had no idea what was coming. A week later, James invited Ethan and Lily to meet him at a downtown building. Ethan felt uneasy, tugging at his faded jacket as he led Lily by the hand. The skyscraper towered above them, gleaming with glass and steel. "Are you sure we belong here?" Ethan whispered. James smiled. "More than you know." Inside, they entered a modest community learning center bustling with children. Shelves overflowed with books, and the sound of laughter filled the air. Ethan froze, his eyes darting around the room as if stepping into a dream. "This place," he murmured. James put a hand on his shoulder. "Ethan, the director is looking for someone who can teach kids who've fallen behind, someone patient, someone who understands struggle. I told him about you." Ethan blinked in shock. "Me? But I'm homeless." "And yet you've been giving your daughter the best education I've ever seen," James said firmly. "That's what makes you the right person." Lily tugged on her father's sleeve. "Daddy, you can be a real teacher." Her eyes sparkled with hope. The center's director approached, shaking Ethan's hand warmly. "Mr. Whitmore speaks highly of you. If you're willing, we'd like you to start with a trial program." Ethan's voice cracked. "I don't know what to say." James grinned. "Say yes." Tears welled in Ethan's eyes as he nodded, pulling Lily close. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of despair lifting. What neither he nor Lily realized, however, was that this was only the beginning. James had bigger plans, plans that would stun everyone, including Ethan himself. Weeks turned into months, and Ethan flourished in his new role. His classroom was filled with children who once hated learning but now lit up under his patient guidance. He used stories, chalk drawings, even pebbles and sticks, simple tools that carried powerful lessons. Lily sat proudly in the front row, beaming as her father stood tall, no longer just a homeless man but a respected teacher. One evening, after class, James walked in quietly. The children rushed to hug Ethan before running out, leaving the three of them alone. "You've built something special here," James said. Ethan smiled humbly. "It's not me, it's them. I just give them what I can." James handed him an envelope. Ethan opened it and froze. Inside was a letter of permanent employment, a housing contract, and a scholarship fund for Lily. "I don't understand," Ethan stammered. James's voice softened. "I used to think wealth was about money. But watching you and Lily, I realized true wealth is measured in love, resilience, and what we give others. You reminded me of that." Tears blurred Ethan's vision. He tried to speak, but his voice broke. Lily hugged James tightly. "Thank you, sir." James knelt to meet her eyes. "Don't thank me, Lily. Thank your father. He taught me what really matters." News of the billionaire's act spread quickly. People were stunned, not just because of James's generosity, but because a homeless single dad had inspired a man with everything to rediscover what truly counted. From that day on, Ethan wasn't just a teacher. He was proof that even in the darkest times, love and determination could rewrite destiny. And James? For the first time in his life, he finally felt rich.